Hello, everyone. I will be doing a presentation on Elijah Anderson, and my name is Santana Harris. Elijah Anderson was born in Mississippi in 1943 on a plantation. His grandmother, Arlene Porter, was a midwife and she assisted with his birth. His grandmother was a religious woman, so she named him Elijah. His mother, Rebecca, and father, Elmore Anderson, were both sharecroppers, so they picked cotton. His mother worked most of her life as a domestic and a seamstress. She attended school until the 11th grade. Anderson's mother was an ethnographer. She raised him and taught him everything she knew. Anderson's father fought in World War II. After he returned from the war, he didn't want his family to live in the South anymore due to its racial structure. His father believed there were better opportunities in the North. Anderson and his family first moved to Chicago, then Indiana. Anderson grew up in South Bend, Indiana. As a child, he had several odd jobs, such as selling newspapers on street corners, setting pins at bowling alleys. When Elijah was 12, he found a job at a typewriter shop that was owned by Marion Forbes. He worked there throughout high school. Anderson attended the University of Bloomington, Indiana, where he studied sociology. Anderson received his bachelor's degree from the University of Chicago. He was mentored by Howard Becker while he earned his PhD from Northwestern University. Anderson worked at Strathmore College from 1973 to 1975 as a professor in the sociology department. After leaving Strathmore College in 1975, he got a job as an associate professor in 1981. In 1989, he earned the Max and Heidi Berry Term Chair in the Social Science Department. Then he was appointed to Distinguished Professor in 2001. Anderson has earned awards for some of his works. He was the winner of the Robert E. Park Award for having the best book in urban sociology. Anderson has been awarded several distinguished awards throughout his career. He served as the president of the American Sociological Association. Anderson has edited several journals and publications in his field. He also worked with the government. He has also worked with government agencies as a consultant. In 2013, he received the Cox Johnson Fraser Award. And in 2017, he received the Eastern Sociological Society's Mint Award. Here you have some of Anderson's popular works, his books that he has written. Anderson is responsible for writing and editing countless books, articles, and chapters in books. Scholarly material about race in American cities. One of his popular works is Code of the Street. In Anderson's book, Code of the Street, he discusses several important contributions. He examines the impact that street culture has on young people within their disadvantaged neighborhoods. Anderson has made a number of theoretical contributions to sociology. Some of his works focus on poverty in neighborhoods, patterns of the disadvantaged, racial inequality, urban violence, and shortages of economic opportunities. The Code of the Streets theory pertains to a never-ending cycle of individuals within a neighborhood gaining and losing respect and reputations amongst each other. Anderson believes that young African Americans are faced with economic disadvantage and racial discrimination may lead them to participate in violent behaviors. Anderson's observations suggest that adolescents choose the code of the street when they come from violent and poor environments. Anderson's data asserts that young people from violent neighborhoods have a tendency to display violent behavior. Individuals that have American values have a lower, individuals that come from a family that has American values have a lower risk of violent conduct. Anderson argues that youth who are exposed to negative neighborhood characteristics will likely suffer from antisocial attitudes and values. According to Anderson, people who are a part of a disadvantaged neighborhood may be law-abiding citizens. However, one still knows or learns the rules of the street code, and they're aware of the consequences if they are violated. Some adolescents are taught or witness violent behavior within their disadvantaged neighborhood. The youth from these areas show a sense of pride in being tough. Living in such neighborhoods put young people at a high risk for becoming victims. Anderson notes that individuals who experience racial discrimination that are from disadvantaged neighborhoods will view the system as being unfair. They will not have faith in authority to prevent occurrences from happening. These individuals believe that they must handle situations that arise on their own, which leads to street code behavior. Nigger Moments in the Cosmopolitan Canopy is a chapter from Anderson's larger work, The Cosmopolitan Canopy, Race and Civility in Everyday Life. A nigger moment can be defined as a time in life when African Americans are reminded of their presumptive place as a Black person. In this article, Anderson depicts how provisional status can be revoked at any time, and it will most likely occur in a sudden or dramatic manner. Anderson underlines the specific struggles that Black people have to steer through, the unclear nature of their social environment just to find themselves. Some middle-class people have chosen to believe only the best about their white counterparts, although they are usually nervous about experiencing a nigger moment. In this excerpt, Anderson describes when a child named Nathan experiences racism by another child. During their tennis match, the child looked to his father, who was up in the bleachers. Then Nathan looked at the coach to handle it, but nothing was done to correct the other child's behavior. This was Nathan's first time being exposed to racism, and he didn't know how to handle the situation. This is what Anderson termed the nigger moment, which is a moment of acute disrespect based on one's race. A nigger moment is a destabilizing threat, and it makes one's trust very difficult to rebuild. This altercation changed the way Nathan felt about white people. Nathan's altercation at the tennis match. Nathan's altercation at the tennis match caused him to develop a Black consciousness. When young people experience tense circumstances, they are ready to blow up whenever they perceive a slight. It is difficult for people to get over what happened to them and find an explanation and attempt to normalize what happened. Blacks try to avoid nigger moments, although it is in their minds. This causes Black people not to fully trust white people. When discrimination occurs in this manner, it is more dramatic because the victim thought that race did not matter anymore. According to Anderson, when young people experience tense circumstances, they are ready to blow up whenever they perceive a slight. When nigger moments occur, it severely damages the victims. The victims usually conform or adapt to a common attitude shared amongst African Americans. It is difficult for people to get over what happened to them and find an explanation in an attempt to normalize what happened. Blacks try to avoid nigger moments, although it is in their minds. This causes Black people not to fully trust white people. Anderson discovered that Black people display racial distrust, even those who are in high-level corporate positions. Despite the changes that have taken place in the 1960s and the 1970s, the color line still exists. Today, nigger moments occur less often in one's face. Instead, it occurs via social media and through white assumptions. Blacks can work in a range of jobs that were not held by Blacks in the past. Blacks reside in neighborhoods that were once off limits for Blacks, and their children can now attend schools that were formerly for whites. As a result of all the changes that took place in society, however, issues, dilemmas, and problems became more frequent as well. Racism today. In today's work setting, no one wants to be labeled as being racist or be caught acting out in racially motivated ways. When one is labeled a racist, it may cause interruptions in their life. It doesn't matter if the individual is guilty or if an investigation is taking place. Majority is going to believe that one is being accused of. Once a person has been labeled as being racist, it can destroy their reputation. This label has caused individuals to lose their jobs and forfeit their positions. Some strong points that Elijah made in his article were that Anderson points out that nigger is used as a metaphor for an outcast status. Another strong point would be when discrimination occurs, it damages the victim, and the victim conforms or adapts a common attitude shared amongst African Americans. Another strong point that I will point out would be nigger moments cause Blacks not to fully trust white people. One weak point of the article is that the color line has started to blur due to racial incorporation, which has led to a large Black middle class. I do not believe that the color line has begun to blur. Although dramatic changes have occurred, the line is still there. This concludes my presentation on Elijah Anderson, Race in America. I hope you all were able to gain something from this presentation.